Here comes Wrangler, he's one tough customer, and he knows what he likes when he sees it. Ooh, Wrangler! I haven't thought about that in fucking... Yeah. I haven't thought about that in like fucking... Since you was a kid.
And then I was just like, I mean, I was doing stand-up in like fucking restaurants and shit, people like eating, not knowing there's gonna be a show, like looking up from cutting into something. And you're like, hey, you know, what's up with Bill Clinton or whatever the fuck I was doing back then.
When did you start the Monday morning podcast?
I started that in 2007. Accidentally, I was over this comedian's house, apartment, Robert Kelly. And he was like, dude, you should do a podcast, dude. And I was like, what's a podcast? He's like, it's a fucking way to communicate with your fans. And back then you called up like a service. So I would just do like 5 minutes, you know, driving around, being in an airport, making fun of fat people or whatever. One day I just said, fuck this. My landlord had broken into my apartment. and so I went downstairs the next morning and I said to the landlord right there, the manager, saying, yeah, one of your guys broke into my apartment and blah, 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 blah. And I told him the whole story. And then he immediately goes, I don't appreciate you coming down here accusing me. That was his vibe. It wasn't like, whoa, what? Hang on a second. He did it. Yes. And I had it for a second, and then I didn't have it. I was on a short-lived show, and that thing went away. And then I remember one night I was at the Laugh Factory, and I don't know what. I mean, I was cursing a lot or whatever, but I remember Jamie Masada came up to me. He goes, Buddy, what happened to you, buddy? You lose your show? You lose your show, then you fuck all over the place? And I thought he was just joking around. So I just laughed. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then he didn't give me spots the next week. And then the next week I didn't get spots. And the next week I didn't get spots. And then somebody gave me the fucking worst advice ever. Who's like, you need to call up and apologize. Which I did. So then he had no respect for me. He would deny all of this shit. I love him to this day, but he would deny all of this shit.
Back and get your flash moment on, like, bitch, I'm the shit now.
I didn't quite say that to her, but that's not the way I would have said it.
For you to get in the Comedy Store back in the days.
Well, Mitzi didn't pass me. I remember that. And
so everybody has a fucking bad story about it. Give me yours.
Well, she didn't even wait to the end of my set. Like, I was still up there.
This Paulie's mom?
Yeah, and evidently, like, halfway through my set, she was just like, he's not ready.
Wow.
And just fucking
She's
walked
cold-blooded,
out.
man.
Yeah, and I took it personal. I was like, man, fuck her, fuck this fucking club, fuck L.A. I was like everything west of the Mississippi. Fuck them, they're not funny. But now that I'm older, looking back, I wasn't ready.
She was really giving you game, right? It was getting you right. Okay. What's the first thing you do or think when you wake up?
Oh, all the shit I have to do, I guess. I don't have a thought.
Hot or cold?
Cold.
Tacos or hamburgers?
Hamburgers.
Ass or titties?
Ass.
What are your favorite pair of shoes of all time?
Ooh. You know what? Adidas Country.
For real?
Do you remember those?
Fuck yeah.
The white with the green.
I'm with Adidas right now.
And they keep
almost making it right.
And they don't fucking make it right. But they did. They did in the early 2000s. I still have them. They're dirty as hell. They look like Bruce Jenner, like threw the javelin with them.
What's your favorite cereal of all time?
You want adult or kid?
I'm talking about, go back to being a kid, man.
Being a kid?
Fuck all that.
All right. When I was a kid, it was I liked the Monster cereal. I liked Count Chocula and Boo Berry. I would tell them how my mother she was the one that used to, you know, beat us up or whatever if we did something. My dad was in a fraternity, and he kept the paddle as a souvenir. My mother used to use it, so we used to hide the fuck. Yeah, she used to line us up. There was 5 of us, and you'd want to be about like 3rd.
So that way she'd get tired.
But you didn't want to be 4th or 5th because then she was too tired and she would hit the back of your legs or your lower. Like her aim wasn't as good. Yeah, okay. And then you try to block it and you hit your hand and all that shit. So fucking doing stand-up and people like. They'd be like, oh, like, everything got labeled. Like, that's domestic violence, that's mental abuse, that's physical abuse. Right. And I just got really frustrated, so I stopped telling the stories, but I knew that they were funny. So one day I was out walking my dog, and it just hit me. I was just like, well, why don't I just animate it?
Right.
Because nobody seems to give a fuck.
Nobody give a fuck.
That was the basketball equivalent if I keyed my landlord's car.
True.
That's the same. You take a loss, you take a loss.
But what they knew was that the reign was over. They knew that them niggas was finna run it for a while. Remember, Michael, after that,
So what,
Jordan
do they
didn't
have
lose.
to go and cry about it?
It was over.
Just the way Isaiah kind of was going out like that with his head pulled in.
But what did they do to him? They left him off the Olympic team for that. Remember that.
Yeah, that guy.
A straight dog. And Lambeer was a dog.
Dude, that guy's hilarious. I saw him one time on those
He's a basketball
those
coach for
NBA
girls.
classics, and he was going like, you know, we used to try to play a mind game, and it just cuts to him just taking people's legs out and punch him in the head. It's like, dude, there's really not a lot of levels to this. The country watching the exact same
shit,
TV
exactly.
I was watching.
We
How
had one
crazy
TV, that motherfucker was in the living room. Mama went to church or whatever she went to, we was turning that motherfucker whatever we wanted to watch.
All right, you want to hear how cheap one of my brothers was? I was living with him, my first apartment. We were living, it was this old-ass fucking, like, looked like a haunted house. And this guy had somehow converted the attic into an apartment. It was totally fucking illegal. No fire escape, nothing. And remember those little-ass, like a kitchen TV?
Yeah,
But it was a color TV, so when he bought it was like $300 because it was like state-of-the-art technology. So it was 88 when I was living there, and the Lakers and the Pistons were in the finals. And I wanted to watch that, and he wouldn't let me watch his fucking TV, right? Because he didn't want me taking life off of the tube.
Oh, wow.
That's how fucking shit. It was the fucking NBA Finals. So I remember, like, I had the window open, obviously, because it was hot as shit, and I was also listening for him to pull up. Unfortunately, it was a gravel driveway, so I could hear the tires of his car pulling up, and I was watching the fucking game with like the sound down and shit, like trying to listen to Dick Stockton, and I heard him coming up the driveway, so I shut this shit off. And this fucking dude came in like Columbo. He just fucking
detective.
No, looking at me. He just came in and he just touched the back of the fucking
And
TV.
that motherfucker was high.
That was it. We ended up getting into a fight. I had to fight him. And he tried to charge me extra rent for like the fucking. I was just like, I watched like a fucking quarter and a half. Like, how much is that? How much are you? $14?
The motherfucker touched the back of the TV and said, "Oh no, we got to fight."
No, he didn't say anything. There was no words needed. He just looked at me, looked at the TV, walked over and touched it, and then fucking charged me.
It was on.
Cookie Crisp.
You didn't like Cookie Crisp?
Because when one of those turned sideways and you bit down, it would cut the roof of your mouth. Jesus, it was like somebody fucking stabbed you in the roof of your mouth. It would affect how you talked in school, like for the first 3 periods.
My shit was bleeding one day when I bit that.
Out in the fucking sun in July on a fucking roof. And I remember the first job I had looking over the fence, these fucking good-looking people, like Instagram-looking people before Instagram, and they were just lounging at a pool, just looking up at us. And I was just thinking, like, what the fuck am I doing with my life?
Living. You was living.
No, that was working. I hated that job so much. Do you know I just left? I didn't even go back and pick up a paycheck. I just wasn't meant to do it. Do you know there was this fucking guy who worked there? He had these jeans on, right? And it had a giant hole here, and he would never wear underwear.
Oh, come on.
It was so weird. I remember one time I was sitting there picking up these fucking tiles, and this dude stepped over some shit, and the hole moved. Like, right.
Oh, wow.
Flashed his fucking junk. Those are my 2 memories from that. That dude's junk and those people sitting by the pool.
Yeah,
Maybe that's why I didn't go back.
That's a great reason not to.
No, I wasn't good at confrontation then. I thought he was going to get mad that I didn't want to do a job where I was going to get sunburned and look at some guy's dick.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good one. You know what it would be? When I'm second in line to make a left, and the person doesn't pull up to get out in the intersection and make sure I make it, my superpower would be that I could mentally move them out into the intersection. And if they gave me the finger, I would slowly slide them into oncoming traffic. I wouldn't make them hit, because that's an innocent person over there.
It's not like a superpower. You a villain,
scare
man.
them. I would scare
them. You the first
them.
villain I had on my show. Everybody else's superpower is like Marvel characters. Your shit is like a villain.
They're lying to you. Everybody's pretending that they care. They don't. If you really listen to people, what they care about is what affects them.
True.
Nobody gives a shit about the 8-year-old who made this jacket, do I? Do I write him and say thank you for sewing this together? No. I'm out there trying to get Grecian formula to make some shit for redheads.
I always wake up
and do shit. If I could work with anybody dead or alive, you know what? If dead or alive, I would do a set in front of Richard Pryor, and all I would want him to say was, hey, funny stuff. That's it. I wouldn't want to bother the guy. I would just want him to acknowledge that he watched, and on some level, he thought it was humorous.
This one time on tour,
Okay, Elisa, that's a tough one. This one time on tour, I was with Charlie Murphy. We'll go back to that. And this kid at the Tempe Improv was also into martial arts and thought that his style was superior to Charlie's. And Charlie said that it wasn't. And they had a little kung fu match in the fucking, right, you know, the black and white tiles. And I remember Charlie was twisting up so bad, he wasn't even looking at the guy. He was just looking over at me, smiling the whole time he was doing it. And I just remember somehow he had turned the kid around where he was behind him, and his arms were all up in his face, and Charlie was just laughing. And Charlie had this laugh, So the kid was humiliated. And I remember I wanted to laugh, but I was just like, well, I don't know karate either, so even though that kid's losing, if Charlie leaves, he'll kick my ass, so yeah.
if I wasn't a boss, I'd be a...
If I wasn't a boss, oh my God, I would be a failure. Because I wouldn't have gone after what I wanted, and I would be working for somebody else, and I'd be a drunk. I would be big, round, and orange, just sitting, wouldn't be sitting here.
My favorite position is...
Doggy style.
You're so nasty.
I just can't deal with the intimacy, you know? I don't know who I am as a person yet, and when somebody looks at me during that time, I feel like I'm exposing too much.
I was talking about your position on the basketball court.
I don't play basketball.